Good evening. I want to start tonight with a mineral that almost nobody talks about, yet it's involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in your body, and a deficiency in it can mimic heart problems, anxiety disorders, chronic pain conditions, and even early dementia. I'm talking about magnesium. And the reason I'm bringing this to you tonight is because research suggests that nearly half of adults over 65 are not getting enough of it, and most have no idea. I'm Dr. Will Graham, and over more than 2 decades in clinical practice, I have seen magnesium deficiency disguise itself as so many other conditions that I genuinely believe it is one of the most underdiagnosed issues in older adults today. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through 5 warning signs your body may be sending you right now, signs that are frequently mistaken for something else entirely. A study published in the journal Nutrients found that approximately 45% of adults over 65 in Western countries consume less than the recommended daily intake of magnesium, and when researchers accounted for absorption issues common with aging, the number of people functionally deficient climbed even higher. This is not a rare or exotic problem. This is something potentially affecting nearly half the people watching this video right now. Here's what makes this particularly important. Unlike many nutrient deficiencies that show up as one obvious symptom, magnesium deficiency tends to ripple across multiple systems simultaneously: your heart, your muscles, your nervous system, your sleep, your mood, which is exactly why it gets misdiagnosed or simply overlooked so often. Doctors treat each symptom individually without ever connecting the dots back to a single underlying cause. Stay with me through all 5 signs because the fifth one involves your heart specifically, and it's something every person over 65 watching this needs to understand. But before we dive in, drop a comment below and tell me your age and whether you experience muscle cramps, especially at night. I read every comment on this channel, and I respond to as many as I genuinely can. Your input shapes the content I create going forward. Alright, let's count down from 5 to 1. Number 5. Frequent muscle cramps, twitches, or spasms, especially in your legs at night. This is the symptom patients bring up most often, almost always describing the same scenario. They wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning with an excruciating cramp in their calf. Sometimes their foot curls involuntarily, and the pain can be severe enough to leave the muscle sore for the rest of the next day. Most people assume this is simply dehydration or just something that happens as you get older. Sometimes it is dehydration, but magnesium plays a direct, measurable role in muscle relaxation, and a deficiency is one of the most common, treatable causes of this exact symptom. Here's the mechanism. Magnesium works as a natural counterbalance to calcium in your muscle cells. Calcium signals your muscles to contract, while magnesium signals them to relax. Think of it like a light switch with 2 wires, one turns the light on, the other turns it off. When magnesium levels drop, that relaxation signal weakens, and your muscles become prone to involuntary, sustained contractions, cramps, twitches, and spasms, particularly during periods of rest-like sleep when your body should otherwise be fully relaxed. A study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that older adults experiencing frequent nocturnal leg cramps had significantly lower serum magnesium levels compared to age-matched adults without cramping, and that magnesium supplementation reduced cramp frequency by approximately 35% over an 8-week period in the treatment group. 35% from correcting a single nutrient. This becomes more common after 65 for a specific reason. Aging kidneys become less efficient at reabsorbing magnesium, meaning more of it is lost through urine even with adequate dietary intake. Additionally, many common medications prescribed to older adults, including certain diuretics, proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, and some diabetes medications, actively deplete magnesium levels further. So you may be eating a perfectly reasonable diet and still running low simply because of medications or age-related kidney changes working against you. I recall a case involving a 69-year-old retired contractor who had been waking up nearly every night with severe calf cramps for over a year. He'd tried stretching, hydration, over-the-counter pain relievers. Nothing helped consistently. A blood panel revealed his magnesium was at the very bottom of the normal range, technically normal, but functionally low. After 6 weeks of magnesium glycinate supplementation, his nighttime cramps had reduced from nearly nightly to perhaps once every couple of weeks. He described finally sleeping through the night as getting a piece of my life back that I didn't even realize I'd lost. Number 4, persistent anxiety, restlessness, or a feeling of being wired but tired. This sign surprises people the most because magnesium is rarely discussed in the context of mental health, yet the connection is well documented in clinical research. Patients describe this as feeling exhausted but unable to settle down, a low-grade internal restlessness that makes relaxing feel almost impossible, even when there's no obvious external stressor causing it. The biological explanation involves magnesium's role in regulating your nervous system's stress response. Magnesium helps regulate the activity of NMDA receptors in your brain, which are involved in excitatory signaling and also supports GABA function, your brain's primary calming neurotransmitter system. Think of magnesium as a natural brake pedal for your nervous system. Without adequate magnesium, that brake pedal weakens and your nervous system can become chronically overactive, leaving you feeling tense, anxious, or unable to fully relax, even during quiet moments when you should be winding down. A study published in the journal PLOS1 examined magnesium supplementation in adults with mild to moderate anxiety symptoms and found measurable improvement in anxiety scores after just 6 weeks of supplementation, with the most significant improvement seen in older adults compared to younger participants. Researchers theorized this may be because older adults are more likely to have baseline magnesium deficiency in the first place, meaning they had more room for measurable improvement. This becomes particularly relevant after 65 because chronic stress itself depletes magnesium further, creating a frustrating cycle. Stress increases magnesium excretion through urine, which lowers your magnesium levels, which then reduces your body's ability to regulate the stress response, which increases anxiety further, which depletes magnesium even more. It becomes a self-reinforcing loop that many people never realize they're caught in. I want to be clear about something important here. I am not suggesting magnesium deficiency causes clinical anxiety disorders, and I am not suggesting it replaces appropriate mental health treatment when needed. But for many older adults experiencing a vague, persistent sense of restlessness or being unable to settle down, checking magnesium status is a simple, often overlooked step that deserves more attention before reaching for other interventions. Number 3, irregular heartbeat sensations, palpitations, or a fluttering feeling in your chest. This is the sign that sends people to the emergency room, understandably so, because heart symptoms should always be taken seriously and properly evaluated. But here's something many people don't know. After a full cardiac workup comes back essentially normal, magnesium deficiency is sometimes the overlooked culprit behind ongoing palpitation symptoms. Magnesium plays a critical role in maintaining your heart's electrical stability. Your heart's rhythm depends on a carefully balanced flow of electrolytes, sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium, moving in and out of heart muscle cells in a precise sequence. Magnesium specifically helps stabilize this electrical activity and works closely alongside potassium to maintain proper heart rhythm. When magnesium levels drop, this electrical stability can become compromised, leading to a higher likelihood of irregular heartbeats, skipped beats, or that uncomfortable fluttering sensation many people describe. Research published in the American Heart Journal found that adults over 65 with lower magnesium levels had a measurably higher incidence of atrial fibrillation, an irregular and often rapid heart rhythm, compared to those with adequate magnesium levels, even after controlling for other established cardiovascular risk factors. Separately, a study in the journal Circulation noted that magnesium supplementation in patients with frequent premature ventricular contractions, a common type of skipped heartbeat, reduced the frequency of these events significantly compared to placebo. I want to be extremely clear here because this matters for your safety. If you are experiencing chest pain, palpitations, or any irregular heartbeat sensations, please see your doctor and get a proper cardiac evaluation first. Magnesium deficiency is one possible contributing factor among many, and it should never be assumed as the cause without appropriate testing to rule out more serious cardiac conditions. But once those serious causes have been ruled out and the symptoms persist, magnesium status is worth specifically discussing with your physician because it's a piece of the puzzle that gets overlooked far more often than it should. Quick note here, if you've found this information useful so far, take a moment to subscribe to this channel because every week we dig into exactly this kind of overlooked, research-backed health information that a typical 15-minute appointment rarely has time to cover in depth. Number 2. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating, and unusual mental fatigue. This sign overlaps with several other deficiencies we've discussed in past videos, which is precisely why magnesium deficiency is so easily missed. Patients describe difficulty focusing on conversations, losing their train of thought mid-sentence, or feeling like their mental processing has simply slowed down without any of the memory-specific lapses associated with conditions like early dementia. The mechanism here connects back to magnesium's broader role in cellular energy production. Magnesium is required as a cofactor for ATP, adenosine triphosphate, your body's primary energy currency at the cellular level. Without adequate magnesium, your cells, including your neurons, cannot produce and utilize energy as efficiently. Your brain, despite being only about 2% of your body weight, consumes roughly 20% of your body's total energy. When cellular energy production becomes inefficient throughout your body, your brain, with its enormous energy demands, often shows the effects first and most noticeably. A study published in the journal Magnesium Research found that older adults with lower magnesium status performed measurably worse on standardized tests of attention and processing speed compared to those with adequate magnesium levels, and that the difference was independent of other factors like sleep quality or depression status. This suggests magnesium's effect on cognitive performance operates through a distinct biological pathway, not simply as a byproduct of feeling generally unwell. Additionally, magnesium plays a supporting role in regulating blood flow to the brain through its effects on vascular tone, the relaxation and constriction of blood vessels. Adequate magnesium helps maintain healthy blood vessel function, supporting consistent blood flow and oxygen delivery to brain tissue. When magnesium is low, blood vessels can become more prone to excessive constriction, potentially reducing blood flow efficiency to the brain during periods of increased demand, such as when you're trying to concentrate on a complex task or conversation. I think of a case involving a 72-year-old former accountant who came in concerned that her sharp analytical mind, something she had always taken pride in, seemed to be slipping. She described struggling to follow financial details that used to come easily to her, and she was genuinely frightened she was developing early dementia. Her cognitive screening came back essentially normal, but her magnesium levels were notably low. After several weeks of magnesium supplementation, alongside other lifestyle adjustments, she reported feeling noticeably sharper, describing it as like a fog lifting that I didn't even realize had settled in. And now, number 1, difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep even when you feel physically exhausted. This is the sign I consider most important because sleep quality affects virtually every other aspect of health we've discussed tonight, and magnesium's relationship with sleep is one of the most well-established areas of research on this mineral. Here's why this is number 1. Magnesium is directly involved in regulating melatonin production, the hormone responsible for initiating and maintaining sleep, and it also activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and digest mode, which needs to be engaged for you to transition into deep, restorative sleep. Without adequate magnesium, this transition becomes harder to achieve, leaving you in a state of mild physiological alertness even when you're lying in bed feeling exhausted. Exactly the frustrating combination so many older adults describe: bone tired but unable to actually fall asleep, or falling asleep easily but waking repeatedly throughout the night. A study published in the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences examined older adults with insomnia and found that those given magnesium supplementation experienced significant improvements in sleep onset time, total sleep time, and reduced early morning awakening compared to a placebo group. Researchers also noted improvements in serum melatonin and cortisol levels among the magnesium group, suggesting the mechanism operates through genuine hormonal regulation, not simply a placebo or sedative effect. This connects directly back to everything else we've discussed tonight. Poor sleep worsens anxiety and restlessness. Poor sleep impairs cognitive function and worsens brain fog. Poor sleep is independently associated with cardiovascular strain, including irregular heart rhythms, and chronic poor sleep itself further depletes magnesium reserves through elevated stress hormone activity, creating yet another self-reinforcing cycle that compounds over time if left unaddressed. What makes this particularly significant for adults over 65 is that age-related changes in sleep architecture already reduce the depth and quality of sleep naturally, even without any deficiency present. Layer a magnesium deficiency on top of these normal age-related sleep changes, and you have a recipe for the kind of chronic, unsatisfying sleep that so many seniors describe as simply how sleep is now, when in many cases it's a correctable, compounding problem rather than an unavoidable consequence of aging. If any of these 5 signs sounded familiar tonight, nighttime muscle cramps, persistent restlessness or anxiety, heart palpitations after appropriate cardiac evaluation, brain fog and mental fatigue, or difficulty achieving restful sleep, I want to genuinely encourage you to have a specific conversation with your doctor about checking your magnesium status. I'd note that standard serum magnesium blood tests can sometimes miss deficiency because most magnesium in your body is stored inside cells and bones rather than circulating in the bloodstream. So discussing this nuance with your physician and potentially requesting a more sensitive test if your standard results come back normal despite ongoing symptoms can be worthwhile. Dietary sources of magnesium worth incorporating include leafy green vegetables, pumpkin seeds, almonds, black beans, and dark chocolate in moderation. For some individuals, depending on their specific health situation and any medications they're taking, supplementation may be appropriate, but that conversation should always happen with your physician, particularly because magnesium can interact with certain medications, including some antibiotics and medications for osteoporosis, and individuals with kidney disease need to approach magnesium supplementation with particular caution given the kidney's role in regulating magnesium levels. All of the research referenced tonight, from the journal Nutrients, the Journal of the American Geriatric Society, PLOS1, the American Heart Journal, the journal Circulation, Magnesium Research, and the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences, are linked in the description below. I encourage you to review them and bring them to your next medical appointment for a more informed conversation. If you found this video valuable, please subscribe to this channel because every week I bring you exactly this kind of detailed, research-backed health information specifically relevant to adults over 65, the kind of thorough explanation a rushed standard appointment often simply doesn't have time to provide. Now I want to hear directly from you. Tell me in the comments which of these 5 signs resonated with you the most and whether you've ever had your magnesium levels checked. I read every single comment, and your experience might be exactly the information that helps someone else watching this finally connect the dots on something they've been struggling with for years. Take good care of yourself tonight. Real answers matter more than simply accepting symptoms as an inevitable part of getting older. I'll see you in the next one.